Good morning. I take these videos after my workouts because that's when I feel the most inspired and what helps to give me mental clarity. Today I did a mental health ride, which was not chosen by me. It was chosen by my riding partner and a very good friend of mine. But some pretty cool things and pretty eye-opening. Something that I have struggled with is anxiety. And we live in a world where it's really hard to admit and talk about those things because problems with mental health can be looked at as a negative, or you can be looked at as weak, or you can be looked at as different or whatever, especially by people who don't really understand it. They say things to you like, just change your thought process, or just feel better, do better. And it's like, yeah, fam, I that's a super simple concept. I didn't think of that. Thank you. But anyway, so along with that, this is an area that I've really improved on in my life, and am continually improving on, because anybody who, and this doesn't just apply to mental health, it also applies to people who are struggling in a lot of areas, like hitting their next goals or whatever that is. Growth doesn't look like a straight line, right? Growth is a squiggly line, but it's always moving upwards. And a lot of times when we're in the valleys and not on the tops of those peaks, we can get really discouraged because we think that we're not making progress. But if you take your starting point and your ending point, you can see that you've really made some huge gains, and you can take some time to actually clap for yourself. I think that's important, is to celebrate your wins, because your wins are way more important than your losses. And sometimes we tend to focus on those losses, and we tend to discourage ourselves and tend to talk down to ourselves. But really, the fact that we're having wins is huge. The fact that we're constantly in a trajectory upwards, whether we realize it or not, is pretty big. And it made me think of the story of David and Goliath. Everybody always thinks and hears the story about how this little man killed this big man, but nobody really thinks of what the backstory might look like. I bet you that when David found out that he had to fight a giant, he was pretty scared. I bet that was pretty intimidating for him, because Goliath had slain many warriors, stronger warriors than David, much stronger. And I bet you David did a lot of push-ups, or however they worked out back then. Probably lifted rocks or something, but to make himself stronger. And no matter what he did, he just couldn't come to the strength and the size of Goliath. And so what did David do? He got really good with the stone. David got really good with the stone. And so that is applicable to us, because he used the tools that were at his disposal. He used the tools that he had in order to be able to succeed. He couldn't be strong in the world's views. He couldn't be strong how everybody else looked at him as strong. He got really good at what he could be good at. And that is what helped David to defeat the giant. And that's what we have to do. Sometimes we have to be strong in our own way. Sometimes we have to figure out things by ourselves and hit the next level. But what David did not do, and I want to point this out and emphasize this hugely, what David did not do is give up because the battle was tough. David did not throw in the towel because he couldn't reach the physical peak that Goliath was at. David did not give up because it was hard. David did not give up because all odds were against him and he thought that he wasn't going to make it. We shouldn't give up either. We need to work on throwing the stone. We need to work on the little things that are going to make us better, and most importantly, that make us consistent, because consistency is key. When we're trying to reach a goal, come out of mental health, feel better about ourselves, do any of that, weight loss, right? Physical conditioning. It's all about consistency. And a lot of times we don't see that growth. I've been looking at, I know it's stupid and we talk about it all the time. I've been looking at the scale for the last 4 weeks, and it's moved down barely a couple of pounds, and it can be super frustrating at times. But guess what? I am working on the stone, and eventually, and I don't know what day it is, I will be where I want to be. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 weeks from now, it doesn't matter if it's 5 years from now, it doesn't matter if it's 30 years from now, because progress is what is important, not perfection.